launching now. Here are we. We are the Unnaturals. Yeah. Not what you planned at all. Dancing on the edge, we dare. Never watch us fall.
Hello, everybody, and this is the better one from the Unnaturals here, back with another game review. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the early entries in the series that doesn't get much love as it should, Final Fantasy II Dawn of Souls. This dropped on the Game Boy Advance as part of Final Fantasy 1 and 2 collection. It also dropped on Final Fantasy on the PSP as Final Fantasy 2, a standalone edition. But let's see if Final Fantasy 2 is truly worth your time. Final Fantasy II is one of the black sheeps of the series, mainly because of its unique leveling system. Unlike most JRPGs where you gain experience and level up here, your stats increase based off how you use them and take damage. Your HP grow. You take damage, your HP grows. You use magic, your MP and spell power increase. It's an interesting system, but it's also kind of a double-edged sword, and we will definitely touch on more of that later. The story here is pretty good. It's your classic rebellion versus the Empire. You play as a group of orphans, Firion, Maria, and Guy, who join a rebellion to fight against the evil Palamecia Empire. It's not the most complex narrative, but for an early Final Fantasy game, it laid the groundwork for bigger stories to come in the series. You got betrayals, secret villains, and of course, crystals. So as you can see in this game, from talking about the story, most characters now actually have a name to their portrait, and they show as much emotion as a pixelated character can, and the conversations are quite interesting in this game as it has an ask and learn mechanic. The ask and learn mechanic in Final Fantasy II, basically you'll see words pop up in red and you can learn them, and you can ask the same character who told you them what they mean, or any other character that has the ask and learn mechanic. You can then ask them about these mechanics as well as show items to certain characters later on in the story. So quite interesting that way. But for the most part, the story, it's okay. But let's talk more about the leveling system. So in this leveling system in Final Fantasy II, you don't actually level up your character. There isn't actually an XP for leveling up your character. Every single skill can level up, from any type of fighting with like unarmed, daggers, swords, staffs, axes, javelins, bows and arrows, and shield. Now your armor, you never need to level up your armor, but your defense stat does increase as you take damage or if you defend, as well as your evasion stat. There are ways to break the system very early in the game by just giving everyone a shield and having them dual wield shields. So in this game, you can dual wield any single weapon in the game except for bows and arrows. Bows and arrows obviously take up both your hands, and there's really nothing else you can do about it. You can also, any character in the game can learn and use magic. There is nothing to stop them from using magic, and there's only one magic shop in the entire, towns normally. Every single person is able to learn whatever type of magic you would like them to learn. So for instance, if we wanted Firion to feel more of like a paladin, we would give him the cure. And as you can see, all magic starts at level 1 as well. So combat itself is your standard turn-based Final Fantasy fare, but with a twist of a stat-based growth system. You can equip any character with a weapon, but you've got to train them in that weapon to make them good with it. Want your healer to use a sword? Go for it. But you'll need to practice. It adds a lot of customization, but can feel extremely grindy at times. So for instance, leveling up your character's health or strength stat or weapon stat that they're using, if you have them hit themselves, see how Firion's stamina has increased, which means I believe we got more status points. We got more accuracy as well as slightly more defense. But that's essentially combat in a nutshell. Visually, the Dawn of Souls edition is a nice upgrade from the original Final Fantasy II. The pixel art looks sharp and the environments are colorful and the sprites have a classic retro charm. It's not going to blow you away graphically, but it's a solid presentation for a Game Boy Advance title and a PSP title. As the soundtrack is composed by Nobuo Uematsu, so you already know it's going to absolutely slap and the music fits the world perfectly. With battle themes and overworld music to keep you extremely immersed in the game. But here's where we get to the downsides. The stat growth system, while unique, can feel unbalanced at times, encouraging grinding in weird ways. If you're not careful, you can end up with your characters who are critically underpowered in moments that you truly weren't expecting. And while the story has its moments, it doesn't quite hit the emotional highs as later games in the game series. Also, the game can be quite unforgiving if you're not careful. And you might find yourself in trouble really fast. That said, Final Fantasy II is an interesting game. It tried to break away from the mold early with its leveling system and open-ended character development. While it doesn't always succeed, it's a bold entry in this series, and it's definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of the JRPG history, or you want to experience a different kind of Final Fantasy. So, final thoughts for Final Fantasy II Dawn of Souls? Well, it's a mixed bag, to be fair. The story is solid, the customization is interesting. The music is always fantastic, but the stat growth system, it feels quite clunky, almost like it came in as a second thought to the rest of the game. So I don't know what they could have done to improve on it. It makes it very weird to level up these characters. Still, if you're a Final Fantasy fan looking to experience something different, this is a game worth trying. What do you think? Have you played this one? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, but other than that, that's it for today. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any more of these epic reviews. Stay unnatural, folks, and I'll see you in the next one, and truly hope that you enjoy Final Fantasy II Dawn of Souls either on the GBA or on the PSP. Until next time.